Soul Specialist here for your Mental Health Monday. So tonight I'm going to be talking about altered states, classifications such as schizophrenia, and what's really real in other realms. So I often talk about non-physical realms and how people may go into altered states. And so one of the first questions that I want to talk about, or statements that I want to talk about, is that in some parts of our world, what we label in the Western world as schizophrenia is often seen as a gift in the shamanic world. So people who can travel into altered states, who can go into other dimensions, who can go into other spaces are often seen as the leaders of those societies because it's a skill or an art form, or that's how it's looked at. So I just want to welcome all these people that have come online. Stephanie, good to see you again. Deanne, there's a few others there. But I'm glad that you've tuned in. So I'm just going to be talking about this because I was actually teaching a little bit of this stuff and dealing with people with mental health issues today. And it came up around, well, what is real? And in some cultures, in altered states, as I said before, it's seen as a gift. So we've got a classification of a disorder of schizophrenia, and sometimes people are seeing things and they call it delusions, and they might be seeing things or hearing things that apparently aren't there or not seen by the other people around them. So are these situations real? Are they just a figment of our imagination? Is it a disorder where the brain splits and goes into these altered realities? And what I like to call schizophrenia, I've coined a new term that's going to be in my upcoming book that's coming out in December called Same, Same But Different. But I like to coin the phrase schizophrenia as a MDE, which is a multi-dimensional experience. Now in quantum physics and in science, we can look at different states, and there actually are proven, and scientists have worked this out, that there is truth to dimensions and parallel universes and things like that, yet that science isn't widely known by a lot of people or applied when it comes to the medical field. So when a person, I was teaching people today that when a person is in an altered state, the worst thing that we can do is actually say to them, hey, that's not really happening, because it's their reality at that time. And so often, the biggest thing when it comes to mental health is these altered states. There are people that enter into altered states that we call psychosis that other people become very afraid of. They often are feared and seen as violent. And we hear that stuff in the media all the time about somebody who's done something, and they're mentally unwell, or they had schizophrenia, or and it's usually a violent crime or something that has been reported. And obviously in the media, it's very one-sided. There isn't any stories that you hear of people in recovery who've recovered from having major schizophrenia or learnt to use it to their advantage or whatever. We don't see those stories. And so, thanks, Greg, for that comment. Anyway, I have no idea what that was about. Nude ghosts. Okay, we'll go with that a bit later and we'll play with that. So, so people will often see different things, hear different things. And I'm going to give an example today, specifically around somebody who had a disability and also schizophrenia. Now, this person that I was working with and I was supporting would often be quite violent in her interactions with furniture and doors, and would slam things. And whenever we would ask her, what was happening, she would say, it's not me. Now, this particular person also couldn't speak very clearly. And there were times that I would hear her speaking and she would be speaking fluently with somebody that wasn't there. So I would ask her sometimes, who are you speaking to? And she'd say, nobody. So I sat her down one day and I actually said to her, look, when you are, violently slamming things and moving things around and you say it isn't you, who is it? And because she had a disability, an intellectual one, and also was classed as schizophrenic, I don't think anybody had actually sat her down to ask her these questions. And so I kind of gently prompted her and said, look, I totally believe that you're speaking to somebody. Is it a male or female? And she started to respond quite fluently. Now, this is coming from somebody with an intellectual disability and someone who's schizophrenic that suddenly can speak very clearly to me and says to me it's a male. So I ask her, how old is he? And she says, he's 8. And I say, well, why is he the one that's causing you to slam things and move things around violently? And she said, it's because he's very sad and he doesn't know where his family is. So this is an example of somebody who has actually been communicating with a spirit that's a little bit stuck. Obviously what some people refer to as ghosts. And so when I said to her, look, she was quite bothered by this, by the way. So she seemed to have been communicating to this person and feeling really terrible after she was slamming things around, and it was obvious that nobody had inquired with her. So it was a pretty good experience for her to be validated in this. So then I supported her on how to deal with an earthbound spirit, and supported her to get this spirit into the light, how to set boundaries around that, and her behaviour improved quite dramatically after that. But the most important thing that I want to state about that little story is this: the validation that she received and the clear communication in which she engaged with me was unlike any other behaviour I had seen from her, and I had been around her for about a year and a half as a support worker. So I just wanted to share that experience. Thanks, Nikki. I wanted to share that experience. That story is going to be in my upcoming book, which is coming out in December. I'm plugging that again. I'm very excited about that. It's all about a spiritual and soul perspective on mental illness and how we can reframe things, things such as psychosis and all the different states of mental disorders that we seem to be classified in the medical field. So I hope you liked this video. If you got something out of this video, please share it. Share it with people, because I do want people to learn from this, and to share it with people that they may think would benefit from it. If you want to basically speak with me about working with me, you can private message me, and I can get back to you. And I want everybody to have a happy Mental Health Monday. See you guys.